my book, which is basically a business book, but it is also, hey, these are real souls, and so you can do so much good by paying attention, making clothes in their size, making ladders strong enough, making chairs with wide enough arms, and then you can also serve people that work for you.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back. It's your favorite time of the week. It's my favorite time of the week. I am very, very happy to be featuring today a guest on a series that we're going to be doing on leadership DNA. My guest today is Joan Denizot. So Joan is an entrepreneur, speaker, author, and she is on a mission to make the world a more friendly and joyful place for people of size. Her work transcends boundaries of business and advocacy. It's a rallying cry for a new era of conscientious business practices where every individual, regardless of size, can thrive. Whether you're a business leader seeking innovative strategies or an advocate for inclusivity, we invite you to explore Big Body Business, her book, and Leadership DNA, which is going to be featured in very soon. And join us in creating a future where empathy, profitability, and positive change go hand in hand. Joan, welcome. Now, this is interesting because your journey about how you got to this place isn't the typical story. So let our audience know a little bit about that journey.
Okay, thanks, Andy. And I just want to thank you for the introduction. It was very well said. I may steal it.
Well, hey, I stole some of it from you. I just kind of
All right, whatever. We're mutually supportive. So I started in the business world. I worked for the state government for a long time, but then I started in the business world about 20 years ago. And I started because I could probably tell I'm a heavy person, and I wanted to ride a bike because I was like, I need to get some exercise, but I hate to exercise. And so I was looking, and I went to a bunch of different shops. I went to internet sites. I called manufacturers. People were like, oh yeah, we make really heavy duty bikes. They hold up to 200 pounds. And I'm like, I'm sorry, in my world, 200 pounds is not that big. I mean, my husband, who is very thin, weighs 200 pounds. He's
Right.
tall. And, 200 pounds is not that many pounds. And so I was just like, that's silly. There's definitely a call for this. And that actually began my business, which was called Zai Bikes. And the idea was I was going to build bikes for heavy people. And I did. I had them custom built, and then we, eventually ordered them in bigger quantities. But we built bikes for heavy people. And at that time, we were the only store in the world that manufactured bikes for heavy people. Nobody was doing it.
Wow.
And it was a self-funded business, and I wasn't wealthy. We had 4 teenagers. Definitely no money to spare. So I didn't do a lot of advertising. I just basically built my website and prayed. And the result is my business took off. People
Correct.
found it and they were so happy because, hey, I'm fat and I can ride a bike. You mean it won't break, tires won't flatten, it's safe, and all these things which people had big fears about. And reasonable fears because it
Mhm.
can be catastrophic if you're going down a hill and a bike breaks on you.
Oh, yeah. It's high risk injury with that. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, very high. So anyway, we built Zai Bikes. It's a great company. It's done a lot of good for a lot of people. And what it also did is it spread the word that um, big people wanted to do things besides just sit home and eat bonbons and read books or
Well,
whatever.
yeah, I mean, and I myself have had time when I was a bigger person than I am now. And, one of the things that I felt was an issue of why I was is there wasn't really any opportunity to do anything about it because,
Everybody says lose weight and you'll get healthy and you'll exercise and lose weight, but there's
yeah,
no equipment for us, right? There's no
right.
clothes, it's ridiculous. Yeah,
Right, right. Yeah. And I mean, I had to solve it through very different means. Like I had to buy myself a recumbent stationary bike at home that
right,
didn't really fit in my space very well and things like that. And, now I go to a gym, but not everybody has the opportunity to do that kind of thing.
right.
And
And
so
we all
I
have
like,
different,
yeah,
yeah, needs and requests and requirements, and everybody else in the world can get those accessed. At least
right.
in the world is a big statement, but certainly in the US and in more like Canada, US, more
Mhm.
modern, I hate to use the term modern, countries like the US, it's easily
Yeah,
accessed, things like
developed nations that have the luxury of access to it is probably the best way to put it. Yeah.
that.
So, but yeah, I love the idea. I'm surprised that it was something that no one had really come on before or come into, that you were the only
One
single
person.
company that was working on this. I mean, that's a rare thing because I run into the podcast a lot of people that are talking about they're getting into crowded businesses. So you kind of had your own niche for a while.
I did. And it was, here's the good news and the bad news with having your own niche. Nobody knows about you. That's the bad
Yeah,
news.
and that's where and therein lies the problem. You're in a crowded
Exactly.
industry, people are looking for certain things and you have to stand out, but then you
Yeah.
run into the thing where you're starting out brand new. Yeah, now you actually got to say, "Hey, I'm actually out here."
Right. Right. And that
So
takes
how did
money.
you overcome that?
Well, I overcame that by persistence. And I will admit and am grateful for that. My husband basically supported the business and me for quite a while because I couldn't have done it if I didn't have another source of income.
Right.
But I was just persistent. I was like, this needs to happen. And the people that bought the bikes were so grateful, like so
Mhm.
grateful. And so eventually I just grew, and it was small, it was slow, but I started growing, and it just took off. And like at about year 15, it's like, oh, people started waking up and saying, oh, gee, maybe there's a market here. This lady's
Mhm.
doing this. And um, so what happened is around year 15, again, I'm not exactly sure of the time frame, but we realized they were selling heavy duty bikes or supposedly strong bikes on Amazon for so much less than I could possibly build them, let alone sell them.
Yeah.
And so that was discouraging. But at the same time, big companies were asking me to come speak to them about having plus size people as customers, as in your business. How do they deal with, I don't mind this term, so if people mind this, please don't be offended, but fat people. I mean, I'm a fat person. And so having fat people, how do you deal with them? How do I deal with fat customers when our products don't fit them? How do I deal with people who won't fit in the chairs in my office? How do I deal with all this stuff? And so I was asked several times to speak to companies about this. And it dawned on me about the same time I was realizing I couldn't compete with Amazon, even though they didn't have weight limits. They didn't do a lot of things that
Yeah.
it's still, I'm sorry, if it's some 10 times cheaper,
Yeah. I mean,
I'd buy it
you can't
something 10 times cheaper. I would.
Yeah, you can't compete with the
Yeah.
amount of. I mean, they've done that since the very beginning. Even with books, undercutting costs of everybody else, so you can't
Everything,
fight that. Yeah.
everything. So I realized, people want to know because all of a sudden people are paying attention
Mhm.
that there are a lot of heavy people. And I think that came from the fact that the numbers are literally exploding. I mean, right now, the latest projection, 2030, which is in 6 years, they project that 50% of the population will be obese, not just overweight. So obese is, very overweight, very overweight. And so people are starting to wake up that, hey, there are a lot of people out there and maybe we should pay attention to them. And
Mhm.
so that pushed me to write my book. And I wrote a book called Big Body Business. This is a copy of my original copy, so sorry about the line, but it's Big
There we
Body
go.
Business, obvious opportunities with the overweight, overlooked, and underserved. I should memorize this, but I keep forgetting it. Say it right. a big body business. So I wrote this book, and the thing is, the book is about how to basically make money from dealing with people with big bodies. But because I have lived my life as a person with a big body, because I have served people with big bodies, I wanted this book to be more than just, hey, you can make a quick buck, you know? I wanted people to feel what people in heavy bodies feel. So there's a
Right.
lot of personalized stories. There's people, I mean, I have so many people that call and share stories with us. It's sad, it's disheartening. It really, you hang up the phone and you just want to cry because people can be very mean to fat people. Very mean.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also, there are some things you just can't do easily, things that break, all this stuff. And so I included stories like that in my book, which is basically a business book, but it is also, hey, these are real souls, you know? And so you can do so much good by paying attention, making clothes in their size, making ladders strong enough, making chairs with wide enough arms, you know, and then you can also serve the people that work for you. Because
Right.
I mean, I've been in offices where, like when I used to work for the state, I mean, the arms were too small on the chairs, you know, it's like embarrassing. You don't want to say, can I get a different chair? You know,
Yeah, I've seen that in offices before. I've seen it, and
it's
it's
chronic.
surprising that the amount of overlooking that is done uh, when designing things for. I mean, any situation. Yeah.
It's crazy. It's really
Yeah.
crazy. So that's what started me. That's so with the bikes. And then the more I did the bikes, not only did I have my own personal experiences, but the more I also learned from other companies, other people, customers, just how much prejudice there is against heavy people.
Yeah.
And then so then I just kind of veered into speaking. I wrote the book. And so now I'm working on I've got a few businesses that are all around it. They're all called BodyReady. And the idea is acceptance and include people. I mean, it's not hard. It's
Yeah.
not, it's here's a clue, you know, just love people, show respect and be kind. That's all you have to do, you know? You don't even have to love them. You just have to be respectful and kind, you know?
It's very surprising how little of that is out how little of that is out there. What I find a lot in my experience is that it's a blind spot that people have. It's not like it's not even sometimes an active discrimination. It's just something that is a complete and utter lack of awareness, just like the bikes.
Mhm.
I mean, it goes from that. I mean, a bike designer didn't even put it into their mind that they should do such a thing.
That's exactly it. I mean, when I used to tell people what I did, this was when I was just doing Zai Bikes and I was starting up and I was going to all these meetings and stuff. And people are like, so what do you do? I said, I build bikes for heavy people. Well, why do you need to do that? I'm like, because bicycles aren't safe for heavy people
Mhm.
the way they're built. I never even thought of that. You know, nobody thinks of it because if they don't live in that body, they don't have to think about it.
Right,
And that's
right,
why. I think the reason it's timely for me to be stepping into the consulting and organizational and support business is the numbers of overweight and obese are just growing like by
right.
huge amounts every year. And people need help. They need to fit in this world. Then the big thing that really, I'm sorry, I'm just gonna say one more thing and then I'll let you ask a question. But it
Oh, go, yeah, go for it. I love it.
really annoys me that this whole thing, like you said, you know, so you have to exercise, but you can't get any equipment. It's like people are denying big people joy. They're like, once you're thin, you can have fun and
Yeah,
life will be good. But for now, you can't. And that's completely bogus to me. It's like
yeah,
start having fun now, live your life, enjoy it, you know?
yeah. It's a catch-22 because they say, oh well, I mean, you need to get healthy, you need to get fit, you need to get through all of these things to achieve what you want to achieve, but you can't get to there without the opportunity in the ways that you need to get there. Fun ways to get there. I mean,
Right.
like going out for a bike ride,
I mean,
and
you know,
things like that.
yeah, absolutely. Excuse me. One of the things that, you know, my doctor told me back, again, this was 20 years ago. He's like, Joan, you really shouldn't walk a lot because it really is hurting your joints. So really, you
Yeah,
don't. I don't want you to going out walking. Okay, so that's the one exercise everybody says walk. It's great exercise if your body can
can
handle it.
sustain. Yeah.
You know, and so okay, so that's when I thought, well, what do I like to do? And I like to ride bikes. Okay, but that started my whole story. So it's it's like, let's say you want to go snowshoeing. Snowshoes aren't strong enough to support somebody that weighs more than, I don't know, 200 pounds. Maybe you can get 250. Kayaks aren't strong enough. Um, I mean, one thing you can do, but people don't
Mm.
because of embarrassment, is you can swim. I mean, there's no boundaries on swimming,
Oh yeah.
but then you have to find a bathing suit. You have to find a bathing suit that fits and you feel
Mhm.
comfortable in. Yeah, that,
Right. And we live in a culture that is so built, at least in the United States, around body shaming, that people don't necessarily want to go to the
no,
pool and exercise in the pool
no.
because there's that judgmental thing that comes in. Is like, well, if you don't look right, then you shouldn't be in a
Shouldn't
bathing
be in the
suit.
pool anyway. Shouldn't be in a bathing suit. Come on.
Yeah, I know exactly, exactly. But yeah, again, it's reverse psychology. It's like, well, you got to be fit to go swimming, but you need to go swimming to be fit.
Right. It's really crazy. I actually swim now. I swim every morning,
Yeah.
every weekday morning, and I have some friends that I meet at the pool. And we were talking about, one of them said, one of my friends said, I can't believe you go to the pool every day and wear a bathing suit. And she's like, I don't care anymore. And that's almost the attitude you have to take, is like, I don't care. I want the exercise. I want the social piece. I want what I get from the pool. And I can't worry that people aren't going to like my body, but it's too bad that you have to think that way instead of saying, I'm great. I'm happy. I'm healthy. I can move whatever way I want. That's what I want for people. I want people to be able to just enjoy life.
Yeah, I definitely relate. Like I say, I've had the same journey.
Yeah.
It's been a long time since those days, but yeah, I went through the exact same things, and felt all of that because I was someone that wasn't heavy that became heavy and then became not heavy again, and so I got I got the whole gamut.
You've got it all. Yeah. No,
Um,
it's a crazy thing, and it's sad, but I am hopeful. I am hopeful.
Yeah, and that's what I
Um,
kind of wanted to ask is like, what are some of the success stories that you've run into in your advocacy, where you've seen things that have improved either for your clients or for your friends, just something that you might be able to come up with that really stands out and shows why you're hopeful.
well, because my companies are relatively new, except for the bike companies, I have a
Mhm.
million bike stories if we want to go there.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
in,
I mean, if it's relevant and
yeah,
it can show someone that wants to work with you in the future why they should, yeah, go ahead.
yeah. So for like bikes, we had this guy. We just happened to see a news article on him. There were
Mhm.
several about this guy that had ordered a bicycle online from Giant and went to pick it up and had it delivered to his local shop. Went in to pick it up, and the guy said, "Oh, how much do you weigh?" And he said, 350, whatever. I'll make up the weight, but something around that. Wasn't I mean, my bikes would hold up to 550 pounds, so it wasn't that big. It was heavy, but and uh and he said, "Oh, you can't have this bike." And he goes, "What do you mean I can't have this bike? I already paid for this bike." He said, "Well, it's not going to be okay for you. You can't have it. I'm not letting you take your bike." And somehow this happened in Canada. Somehow the news picked this up. And there
Mhm.
was this whole thing about this guy that he paid for the bike. They certainly let him buy it online, but the bike
Right,
shop owner felt like, you might get hurt and we're liable. I really think it
right.
was.
Yeah, for selling it that way. Yeah.
And so we met this guy. He's a gentle soul, like kind of a gentle giant, really nice man. And we ended up giving him one of our bikes because we just wanted him to be able to bike. I mean, this man, he didn't have a lot of money. But he was committed to just moving and he wanted to have fun. And he said, you know, I don't know what to do. I can't find a bike that people will sell me because I'm too heavy.
Mhm.
So, I mean, so I'm not espousing that as a story where, okay, I'll give you things. Unfortunately, we can't afford to live like that, but
Right.
it is, we reached out because it was such a sad story. I
Yeah.
mean, really, it's, and so now we're actually working with the bike industry, sellers and eventually, hopefully, some manufacturers, although we haven't really made it. Well, no, actually, we have connected with one manufacturer about remembering this customer who is half
Mhm.
of the population. And
Right. That's revenue streams.
it's huge. It's a huge revenue stream.
Right.
And people, I said this to one guy. I said, there's, they're up to almost 50% of the population is right now, 50% is overweight or obese, probably even higher. And he goes, well, those people don't come into our store. And I said, yes, that's probably true. And
There's a reason.
why they don't come into your store?
Maybe you think about why they don't instead of that they don't do it.
Exactly. So, we right now we're like helping people figure out what do you do to make your store welcoming to people of all sizes, right?
Right.
Put a couple of comfortable benches in there. Um, excuse me, educate your sales staff. So if somebody comes up to you and says, hey, and they can see you're a big person, what have you got that would fit me? I mean, you don't want some teenager saying, oh, the fat bikes are I mean, you want somebody saying, well, this side, this is an area where you can find anything in here should be great. But they need to have a little diplomacy, a little tact. They need to have places where people can rest, enough room in the aisles, things like that that people don't think about if they don't live in those bodies.
Right. Yeah.
And most bike owners, I mean, it's a generalization, but they're fit. They're super fit guys, or some women, but they're all super fit.
Mhm.
So they don't think about this stuff.
Right. Yeah. Because they're already in a different headspace entirely, and they're already in a different body entirely. Yeah.
Exactly.
But I love it. I love it because you just demonstrated exactly through that story about where there's opportunity for business owners to build revenue, where they are literally just ignoring it because they just don't. It's a blind spot, and that kind of consultancy is fantastic because you're actually showing them ways in which they're just leaving money on the table. That will
Oh,
make
yeah.
change when you can do
Yeah.
that.
And it's easy. Not everything is hard. Some things could be expensive. There's no doubt about it. But how hard is it to bring in a couple comfortable chairs or a bench or two
Yeah.
and, maybe rearrange things so there's a little more room for people to maneuver? You know,
Right.
like in a doctor's office, just put some chairs without arms. How many people can't sit down in their doctor's waiting rooms?
Oh yeah. I and there's a whole, and you feel it even if you fit in the chair, if you're a heavy person, you feel constrained.
Yes,
And
you're snug.
yeah, it's pretty snug and it's uncomfortable, and you're probably already sick when you get there. So,
Yeah. So you
yeah,
already feel
I
crappy.
would go to a practice with that. I would go to a practice with a chair without arms over a practice that had the little any day of the week.
Absolutely. I
Yeah,
had to go to the doctor last week because I had something with my wrist. And I was actually super impressed because they had some wide chairs. They had a low entrance so people could talk to people. They had wheelchairs at the entrance if you wanted one. I
yeah.
was so impressed and I wanted to find who the office manager was and like just congratulate them, but I didn't because I was worried about my sore wrist. But it's important because then at one point I thought, well, I'm just going to sit in one of the close arm chairs, because I was closer to the desk. And I got in and I got out, but it was not without a fair amount of wiggling. And so I'm like, okay, well, I'll just sit in the bigger chairs. That's fine. I had the choice, right? When you don't have the choice, that's when it's terrible.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
absolutely. Yeah. Well, Joan, as we kind of start wrapping up things a little bit here, what advice do you have? I mean, I think you've already given most of advice to business owners, clients, things like that that would be thinking about this. But is there anything that you've left out? Anything we haven't covered that maybe a golden nugget or something that they could think about and use to help them in their business or their lives?
yeah. I mean, I think I've already said this, but I think it's true that people just step outside of yourself. Like, I'm a
Yeah.
person who's white. If I'm having trouble or I don't think about like people who are black, for instance, I mean, I can just put myself in their shoes for a minute and think, oh, all right, well, their hair is really different than mine. They need a different kind of product. I need to make sure that I have that, right? Like just all sorts of things. And that's only a tiny snippet of what you can do. But remember to think about people, and especially this is like it's like people of color now. I mean, big people are, not to create a pun, huge, and they're growing. The population is growing. And so to ignore it is literally saying, I'm not interested in your business. And to me, that's crazy. And it's not just people that are customer centric, like that are serving customers in person. It is people that you're going to hire heavy people. You're going to want them to stay because it's expensive to hire and train. You want people to come and feel welcome and stay. And how do you do that? You make sure they're comfortable. You make sure that things are easy for them. You make sure that there's a policy. You don't pick on people because they have a big butt. I mean, you just common sense, right?
It sounds so logical, but you're right. People just don't do it.
No. So that's what we're about is we really want to help educate people. And we have so many tips and tricks and so many ideas of things that can be done. And basically this comes from living as a fat person and selling to fat people for a long time. And it's like crying for attention.
Well, Joan, speaking of attention, how can we get the attention of our audience members? Where can they find you?
Well, they can find me at you go to bodyready.org. And that is where our consultancy is. We also have bodyready.shop where we're selling products that we've selected for healthy, heavy people. So if you're having a hard time finding shoes or pants or whatever, you can go there and get some suggestions. Um, but bodyready.com was taken, and that is a pregnancy thing. So if you go if you go to bodyready.com, you won't find us. But go to Body Ready, even type in Joan Denizot, and definitely pick up my book because
There you go.
honestly, it talks about the heart of this as well as why it's important for a business from a business sense. So, but it's been really wonderful, Andrew. I've been really enjoying talking with you and
Oh yeah, I know. We could probably go on forever about this. I say that a lot, but this is true because it's something that really it's something that really is near and dear to my heart. And ladies and gentlemen, those links are down below, so go ahead and click through with those. Take a read on the book. And Joan, yeah, just it was a real pleasure.
thank you. Likewise.